Bam! That's right, we are on BrotherRA.com. I am your host, Brother RA. This is on CCTV, Cambridge Community Television, and this is Brother RA's website. And let's take a quickie look at, Brother RA's Facebook page. And let's slide up, and no bleaching, say no to skin bleaching. Look at beautiful black skin. Why would you bleach that? Now, a black family with a white baby. I'm gonna not talk about that this week. Oh, there's your boy, Noam Chomsky. And, okay, let's continue on going. Steve Coakley, that's where I left off last week. Steve Coakley, and, well, that was 2 weeks ago. That was last week. And I'm just showing the pictures on my particular Facebook page right now. And bam, okay, let's move on from Facebook to where we was last week and kick in. I'm sorry. If you're gonna stay stuck and stupid or stay in a confined thought, confined thinking, I'm gonna go to church and pray to God. No. Look inside yourself and see the divine energy and see that you're infinite. Can I pass it on to you? Can I pass that consciousness? Can I pass that care, that thought process? Can you at least see yourself as a divine energy? All right, I got 25 seconds left. So this is where we left off. I'll have to try to pick up next week with that. I've been your host, Brother RA. Okay, you can shut up. A lot today. Thank you for tuning in and listening. And this. Okay, so let's move on to where Steve Coakley left off. Actually, let me finish this thought real quick, because I show something. This will archive for those that, bye. Oops, I missed it. Okay, never mind. Let's put that on pause and go to
Mr. William J. Jones, 92 Bullock Park, Newton, Mass. All right. Bad news, huh? All right. Mr. James Long, Jr., 149 Adams Street, Lexington, Mass. Melvin Miller, attorney.
So what Steve is doing here on what Steve is doing is naming the names of those that fund and promote white supremacy. And he's talking about Sigma Phi Pi, which is the Boule. The Boule is a quote-unquote secret black male fraternity order based upon Skull and Bones. So you have the upper echelon whites that have this fraternity order, and then you have the wealthy upper echelon black men that model themselves after the white men. So he's naming the names of those who fund and promote white supremacy, or perpetuate stupidity and ignorance, or perpetuate dumbing down. So, sit up. Yes, reach the top of the TV screen. Now, let me shut up and go ahead and continue with Steve Coakley as he discusses such issues.
I guess I was in there. I told them that this must be a Boule newspaper. Most black newspapers have Boule families. Robert Abbott, who fought Marcus Garvey to the bone, went to the Justice Department with others to try to run him out of America. Boule, founding Chicago defender. The Washington Afro-American, which owns the Baltimore African-American and the Richmond African-American, are the Murphy Boule family. Now, all of these papers, as you go back to the history, you will find that their families interrelated. Anyway, they ran an announcement that I would be here to speak. They just left my name off. A speaker from Washington, D.C. will be here to lecture on secret societies. And when they showed it to me, I turned to them last night. I said, this must be a Boule newspaper. Sure enough. I don't fare well with them. They know me, even if you don't. Melvin Miller, attorney, 78 Harold Street. The Honorable Rudolph F. Pierce, 24 Elmhurst Road, Newton. He must be a judge. Of course, Dr. Alvin Poussaint. Dr. Lewis W. Roberts, 5 Michael Road, Wakefield, Mass. Mr. Joseph W. Rollins, Jr., 610 Lucan Towers, P.O. Box F285, Freeport, Grand Bahama Islands. Dr. William J. Walker, 11 Saddle Club Drive, Lexington, Mass. And Dr. Augustus White III, 20 Westerly Road, Western, Mass. There is one more list that came out in 1993 that we have not gotten a hold to. We're in the process of getting it now. So that there's one more group of names that might come up from Boston that would help you better know. We recently broke in on the Boule meeting. The Boule recently had a meeting in, this is a flyer of my Boule lecture in D.C. You can kind of see how I do it when I do it. We put the Boule logo, the Grecian Sphinx and what it meant, with a quote from African Minds United in Los Angeles, and the Boule logo, for which they said it would partake of the tenets of Skull and Bones at Yale, and put them together so that the people could see it. Why was David Rockefeller at the recent Boule regional meeting held at the Pentagon City Ritz-Carlton? Yes, the Boule just met at Pentagon City at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and we busted up on their meeting. And there in the meeting was David Rockefeller sitting there, briefing them on the way of the world before they went over to the State Department for a program headed by Deputy Secretary of State. Who's Deputy Secretary of State? Who the Deputy Secretary of State? Who? Warren Christopher is the Secretary of State. You're honky. Who's the Deputy Secretary of State? I'll give you a free tape for who can think of this shit. No. Now, how many of y'all in here love Africa? Let me see your hands. How many of y'all
This happened in 1992, 93.
Africa, unless you know the honkies that destroy Africa. Secretary of State is the keeper of the seal of the pyramid with the all-seeing eye and the phoenix. The State Department keeps the seal. Clifton Wharton, y'all. Clifton Wharton. Oh, I even mentioned his name earlier. Anyway, they recently had a meeting at Pentagon City, Ritz-Carlton, right there in Arlington, Virginia, and we busted in on the meeting. It was the 10th Northeast Regional meeting. The Boston people were there too. And I had a lecture in D.C., and I wanted to do the best I could. Does the Boule connect to the Rhodes Rothschild Secret Society? What is the significance of the Boule ritual being based on the Knights of Templar? And why was Rockefeller there, considering that he is the king and they are the knights? It was obvious he was the only white man at the meeting. There have been over time a few white people. Thou shalt not worship false idols. There are over time several white people who have been allowed to be in the Boule, one of them being a white boy named Joel Spingard, who was made an honorary member of the Boule. And we're going to talk about him. Now, just to say quickly, when we penetrated that Boule meeting that they had just held, when we penetrated that meeting, we took everything we could find. In fact, here's a little thing on Clifton Wartime when he was made Secretary of State. Clinton appoints Clifton Wartime Deputy Secretary of State. It says here, a former chairman of the Rockefeller Foundation, he spent 22 years working in foreign economic development in America, Southeast Asia, and in Latin America and Southeast Asia for the Rockefeller family philanthrop interest. So here's the first black man ever to be Secretary of State, Deputy Secretary of State. He will be the first black Secretary of State. His daddy was the first black man in foreign service, Clifton Wartime Sr., and nobody even know who he is. But he come from Rockefeller. That's what you need to know. He come from Rockefeller. That's all you need to know. They all come from Rockefeller. There's nowhere else to come from. Yes, brother?
Just occurs to me that Wharton was the president or CEO of TIAA.
Right, which is where that came from. That was TIAA's magazine, which was the pension fund in New York. He ran the whole pension fund. See what I'm talking about, John Hancock? He ran the whole TIAA CREF. He moved on to larger responsibilities. He headed the pension fund that controlled all the pension funds of the state of New York. Huh? And the United Snakes even, damn. And only Rockefeller's man could hold it. See, here they go. Here's the program for the Boule's convention. They had, right here, between 3 o'clock is when we saw Rockefeller meeting with them. The women of the wives of the members are called archausas. They're allowed to go to everything but the main men meeting. They have annual dinners, they have picnics, they have ceremonial things. Here, transportation provided to the State Department, the Ben Franklin room, where the Honorable Archon Clifton Wartime Jr. will host them, headed by head of the D.C. chapter, which is not on there, but also they heard from Archon Edward Perkins, who is U.S. Ambassador to South Africa. Check. Only allowed to do that if you're a Boule. Check. Show you right. Now, they have the executive committee there. These are the names that run the Boule all over the country. Hugh Perkins is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Benjamin Majors from San Francisco. Russell from Atlanta. Matthew Carter, New York. Some of these names you may or may not recognize from different parts in and around here, but these are the national officers of the organization. The head man is the Grand Sire Archon. The head of the local chapter is Sire Archon, and all members are Archon. Okay, now, when we went into the hotel, here's another piece out the meeting where Ron Brown, Archon Ron Brown, spoke to him. Now, you will never see them addressed in these titles other than in the meetings, secret meetings. These meetings were not open to the public, though we did walk right in the State Department, right with them when the bus landed. Our man got right in there, and they have a major investigation going on now, finding out how Hebrew Ben Yehuda snuck into the State Department, past all the security, and sat there for the Boule meeting. In fact, we so stole their stuff. This is the seating arrangement from the man who ran the hotel on how he was to set up their luncheon. We took everything we could find. I took the Boule, you know how they slide the little thing in the door of the hotel, say Sigma Pi Phi Brunch? Took that, when the garbage cans, took the seating arrangements. You don't never know. Trilateral Commission meets in the hotels. We need people in the hotels that are clean-up people. You can walk around a hotel in a green suit, nobody will stop you. You can walk in and out of everything. So don't underestimate the least of thee. All of us have a role in penetrating the enemy. Don't underestimate the garbage man, the wall washer, the window, the bathroom attendant. Don't underestimate any of them.
Beautiful.
That's the head of the Northeast region. He's a black Republican, Latrell Parker out of Virginia, Arlington, Virginia. And I tell my man, I said, these Republicans always hang closely with the mafia. I look up, he owns the one street that got all of the naked bars and all that, that one part of Virginia, he owned the street. Very prominent, rich, wealthy black man. This is, again, the regional officers, Latrell Parker, Andrew Byers, Samuel Beard, Archie Savage. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much. These are the members of the chapter, the regional directors of this region right here where we are. The head of the D.C. chapter is now head of the Joint Center for Political Studies, Eddie Williams. Eddie Williams is the head of the D.C. Boule. Eddie Williams, Joint Center, the only black think tank. Huge money from Rockefeller Foundation. The MacArthur Foundation, which is Rockefeller controlled, gave him a $300,000 unrestricted leadership grant. For 5 years, he got $300,000 unrestricted. Doesn't have to do anything to it, just to use it. And it's to give him economic security for being what he's supposed to be. That's the membership council. This is a look at the committees. That's the ones I told you that interview and control who does what. Now the Boule, when we busted in on the Boule meeting, what we found out was that the Boule's next convention,
Where?
Baltimore, Maryland, right by Brother Coakley, July 8th to the 15th. I'm going to the meeting. And any of you can come too, because we're all going in. We're going in. You ain't gonna tell me when I show up with 8, 9, 2, 3,000 people at the door, ain't nobody got the power. Ain't no police, ain't nobody they can call that can stop us from going through them doors where they gonna be meeting. And we're gonna lock the doors and compel some explanation. Now, y'all can run and tell them. They know we coming. They can go get all the police they ever want to get. If they go get them, they will only draw mystery to what do they have to hide. We have them lock, stock, and coming our way. And don't think we ain't going. And if you want to go, you know my phone number on those tapes, you can call me. You know, provisions will be made for everyone. It should be a group coming down from here going. In fact, the guy who runs the regional Boule, Latrell, doesn't know it, but he doesn't have his program anymore because I took it. That's his handwriting. If he looks down, I'll show you all of his personal notes, who he was supposed to call. I took the program, and he don't even know it's gone. But it's just about depth, penetration. And that's what I just wanted to share with you. Now, quickly, let me do this, because I want you to at least pick this up. This is something, a development, that we have to be aware of. Army Black Spy Network dates back to 1917. This story is a reprint in the Washington newspaper of a story that came out of the Memphis Commercial Appeal, which was a paper that was founded by Albert Pike in the 1800s. And this paper, which is a legitimate newspaper now, owned by the Scripps Howard News Service, thank you very much. I appreciate your support. Talks about revealing that the Army set up a black spy network led by Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Von Dieman. Now, you know, that's some heavy shit. Von Dieman. In fact, America has a political program. The only way you can get American aid anywhere in the world is to carry on the America's evil program called demonocracy.
Democracy,
Check.
you got to get it.
So you're right. It's all laying there.
Democracy.
They didn't hide the shit. We just didn't call on it. Interestingly enough, it says here, Newton Baker was Secretary of War. He ordered Von Dieman to crank up the department's sleepy military intelligence division. This is 1917. No CIA, no FBI yet. So Army's military intelligence was the spy apparatus. Von Dieman, who you can look up in all kind of books on military intelligence history. You can find him. He's very traceable. We'll talk about him later. There's a tape over there on the analysis of the Memphis Commercial Appeal with special guest Dick Gregory. It's a 3-tape set. I got about 3 or 4 of those left. Very important tape. I'm trying to squeeze 3 or 4 lectures into one quick format to breeze them enough so that you understand. Say what? What they saying? We gotta go? Now, see, you had to catch yourself, because you know I don't never like nobody delivering no message for nobody else to Brother Coakley. If we gotta go, they got to come to the door and say it. Brother Coakley don't hear nothing else now. Check. And check, so you're right. Now, listen up, quick. Baker's special assistant, Newton Baker, orders Von Dieman to set up a spy system. Baker's special assistant was Emmett Scott. Baker, who ordered Von Dieman to set up the spy system's special assistant was Emmett J. Scott. You must not forget him, his name, because he is very, very important for the discussion as we're about to have it. Because of certain things that happened. Here is the Washington Post talking about the same story. Military spied on King and other blacks, paper state. Army reportedly targets southern churches. The Army began spying on black Americans more than 75 years ago in a campaign that was centered on southern churches and covered 3 generations of the family of the Reverend Martin Luther King, the Commercial Appeal reported Sunday. The spying sometimes involved Green Berets, began with King's maternal grandfather, who was pastor of a Baptist church in Atlanta. It was continued to include King's father and then the civil rights leader himself. It goes on to say how they watched Rap Brown, Kwame Ture, etc., etc., etc. It does not mention one of the most important parts. In fact, it says that the Green Beret were undercover at April 4th, 68 when King got shot. And you need to know that King was killed with 30-06 rifle, which was just the rifle that these guys were carrying, which it proves in the Memphis Commercial Appeal story. James Earl Ray's gun was never tested for whether it matched the bullet that went through Martin's head. And remember, go back and relook at the Fox special on the King murder, and something you will find out very glaring. You could not guarantee Martin King would come out on the balcony. Because if James Earl Ray is standing on the toilet of a flop house where everybody got to pee because they drinking, you can't stand there forever waiting for Martin to come out. And if Martin walks out the door and goes down the stairs, you can't shoot him. But Jesse comes out the room and stands downstairs and calls Martin back out to the balcony. And then Martin gets shot. But what you need to know about Martin getting shot is that when Martin was shot, he went like this and back down. He should have been like this. You remember that Kennedy shit, where Oswald was supposed to shot him, but you saw that motherfucking head go boom backwards from the front. The little fence, which is only a few feet away. If you ever go to Dallas, go to Dealey Plaza, the picket fence ain't no further than that blue pole. So you can see why they fucked that head up so strong, because they were so goddamn close. That shit way back up there in the bullshit. But that ain't important. Couldn't nobody stop it. That's all that matters. Now come Martin King, fucked him up. Everybody say it came from Jesse and them all. Jesse and Martin, Jesse and Andy go to the porch and look him and point up. But everybody that was there say the shot came from down in the bushes below. Hosea Williams and the others have never, Ralph Abernathy, have never appreciated what Jesse did after that moment. And that's a whole nother dialogue. But just file it in your head. Don't forget that, because you got to know how they got in the position that they got in. Anyway, check. Now, when I see the word Emmett Scott, that he was in the Army spy, I go get my history of the Boule, and there's Emmett Scott, A.B., LLD, Wiley University, Wilberforce, right there on the list of the Washington, D.C. Boule, with Ernest Just and a lot of the other original founding members. In fact, Emmett Scott eventually, based on his destroying Marcus Garvey, became the grandsire archon of the Boule eventually. Emmett Scott is mentioned in a book called A Taste of Power. Anybody know who wrote that book? Elaine Brown, former Black Panther, because Emmett Scott is her grandfather. And on page 50, she says he was an elitist who hated me, and my daddy hated me because I'm the product of my father and a prostitute. Ooh. And they never ever accepted me as an illegitimate child, but I still never understood why I wasn't killed when the others were. She was a Sigma Pi Phi family member, and as such, even disrespected is an untouchable. Ooh. On page 50, she'll tell you about the bougie thing they played, so that's her evidence. She speaks to it. Now, you can look back up and go back and find that how Emmett Scott got his job as assistant to Secretary of War was that a black man named Robert Russa Moulton assisted him. He recommended Emmett Scott get the job because Emmett Scott worked at Tuskegee University, where Robert Rosa had just replaced Booker T. Washington. Check. Robert Rosa Moulton headed the committee of Liberia. The American protection of the colonial Liberian experience was headed by Robert Rosa Moulton, of which Emmett Scott too was a member of that committee. That committee is important because that $5 million loan that went to the head of Liberia was to get him to do this. Write a letter that the NAACP reprinted from the president of Liberia to the effect that his country would not be used as a base from which the Garvey movement could harass other governments in Africa. $5 million in 1917 money to prop up the head of Liberia for Firestone and the others to stop Marcus Garvey from getting too strong in Liberia. And it was worth $5 million, and even then they admitted that the Americans still controlled how he spent every dollar of it. But the point was that the NAACP would pick up his letter which says, Garvey said, I'm on a beachhead in Liberia. So here's go $5 million, I'll keep him out. Now, I don't have time to even go deeper. Remember, Du Bois was the one who attacked Marcus Garvey, but you must remember Du Bois as the first black man ever to address the Council on Foreign Relations. In their annual 70-year history book, which recently came out as the cover Foreign Affairs, W.E.B. Du Bois was given honor as the first black man ever to speak there, which is about that a relationship between the Boule and the secret society. The first black Rhodes Scholar was Elaine Locke from Howard University. Liberal Arts Department is named after him, Locke Hall. And Elaine Locke was the first black Rhodes Scholar 1908 to 1910. Boule member, the writer and creator of the concept of the diversionary project called the Harlem Renaissance. Sure, you're right. Where whites put up huge amounts of money to divert Negroes into drama, poetry, literature, dancing, and away from black to Africa, which was being led by Marcus Garvey. Julius Rosenwald teams with the Rockefeller family. The Jewish community, 1915, has Leo Frank hung, first white man ever hung on evidence from a black man. Jewish people get with the Anglos and start giving money to blacks. First time after the Jewish man got hung on the evidence of a black man. Check that. Garvey must be appreciated and respected for a man who fought the forces who built the circle, went on the circle. The native Africans once owned all the wealth of South Africa, but Cecil Rhodes and other white men robbed and exploited them. And today the diamond fields are owned by white men who have practically reduced the native Africans who once owned the lands to slavery. And by the system of forced labor compelled them to mine the diamonds and other minerals and to live on them, to mine the diamonds and other minerals and to live on reservations, herded together like cattle under conditions wholly unsuited for human beings. The British Empire today owes its present financial existence to the wealth which has been recruited from Africa. The wealth we the Negroes could have controlled 50 years ago when there was not so much interest in Africa. It is only within this period of time that Italy, France, England, Portugal, Belgium have started a wholesale colonization and exploitation of Africa. Garvey should be known as the man who fought him. It was in Brother Tony Martin's book on Pan-African, what's the exact title? Pan-African Connection. You must get it because there you will find the strength and diversity of Marcus Garvey's worldwide movement. But what you will find that Garvey's Negro world was banned in the diamond mines. Garvey was so strong in Africa that ANC grew up to be like him. You have to give him, grab the brother's books and give Brother Garvey the respect he deserves and stand up to penalize the ones who systematically went to block him. But he fought it though. Jan Smuts, who was the caretaker to the Rhodes Trust, he specifically talked about in Brother's book, Brother Exposed, how he bragged about monitoring Marcus Garvey all over Africa, spying on him. In fact, I had done this tape, and I have a couple of the videos left. White Finance, Negro Leadership versus Marcus Garvey. Exposed the plot to neutralize Garvey carried out by the Boule, financed by wealthy whites. Julius Rosenwald teams with Anglo Rockefeller. White finance Negro schools, Negro organizations, Negro leadership. the Harlem Renaissance was a fake. This was a story on Garvey in the Washington Afro-American, how one man built an empire, but the reason I show it is for this. 52 branches in Cuba, 47 Panama, 30 Trinidad, 23 Costa Rica, 15 Canada, 11 Jamaica, 8 Honduras, 8 South Africa, 7 British Guiana, 6 Colombia, 5 Dominican Republic, 5 Guatemala, 5 Nicaragua, 4 Barbados, 4 British Honduras, 4 Mexico, 3 Sierra Leone, 2 England, 2 Gold Coast, 2 Liberia, 2 Bahamas. No black organization in the history of our existence has ever been this worldwide diverse. We have never been as strong as we were as that moment. No radio, no TV, 5 million strong.
1920. Go for it.
Never ever have we been that strong ever since. And Brother Martin, you've got to look at what I'm doing and figure out ways how you can strengthen my argument on this subject. I would appreciate you helping me help clarify for others to strengthen out the dialogue about those things that were related to. I'm doing the best I can. Garvey, of course, in fact, in this one they're talking about how the NAACP boys had all come in there. Remember in 1917, Garvey went to their office, stormed out when he saw whites running everything, got real mad. Here's the Memphis Commercial Appeal paragraph that you all should be aware of. Who in here is Omega Psi Phi? Anybody hear Omega? Because Ernest Just was the first winner of the Spingard Medal, and the top award in the Omegas is named after Spingard. Von de Man, who we talked about earlier, wanted proof of subversion. He hired Joel E. Spingard, the white board chairman of the NAACP, who made him a major in military intelligence division in May 1918. Spingard and black agent Lieutenant T. Montgomery Gregory ran a small unit of undercover agents according to the intelligence documents. The documents show that Spingard, who remained NAACP chairman during his tenure at MID, used his post to obtain critical information for MID, such as the list of the organization's 32,000 members. The NAACP gives him an annual award named for Spingard. Jesse, Colin Powell, Coretta Scott King, these are all past winners. It all gets clearer now. But they should drop, Ben Chavis and Brother Lou Myers should drop Spingard based upon the proof that he circumvented the NAACP every day it was his chairman. So on one hand he gave it money, but on the other hand he spied on it. Somebody said, well, how did they do that? You mean to tell me you understand that America would give you housing and urban development HUD to help you build houses, but then get FBI money to COINTELPRO stop you? So don't get confused when they do the forked tongue thing, because that's how you know them. They go with the forked tongue. All right? There's an article that I don't have time. I'm not going to go much through it, but I use it for one reason. It's talking about the parallels and divergences of assimilation strategies of Afro-American and Jewish elites, 1910 to 1930, by this guy who floats in and out of credibility. But it was a discussion about the college-trained African-Americans who teamed with the Jewish whites and became black-Jewish relations. The start of it was wealthy Jews and college-trained blacks. It was never wealthy blacks and wealthy Jews. And the reason Jews keep running it like today, it was always wealthy Jews and college-trained blacks. So when the Sappercenes say, get out the fucking march, it was because of the wealth, not the equality. There's a tape over there, Black Jewish Relations 93, several others, don't miss them. Even though I got on video, the whole Talented Tenth was a Boule concept. Du Bois, Talented Tenth, straight Boule. In that story, you can see how I write on my stuff. The deflation of Garvey's Talented Tenth was an acute credibility crisis, for they now had to prove that Garvey's extreme pessimism about the future of the race in the United States was unjustified, and that by helping to scuttle the fervent mass movement, they had not co-signed 11 million African Americans to perpetual economic and social misery. But the evidence and trends supported the Garveyite predictions that found that the proportion of Northern Americans in manufacturing had steadily declined, etc. And Elaine Locke, first black Rhodes Scholar, knew what a close call Garveyism had represented. We have for the moment, in spite of Mr. Garvey's hectic efforts, no Zionistic hope or intention. But what opportunity called the dark, dumb masses were urgently in need of a new opiate. For as Locke well understood, Garveyism has shown how much more ready and ripe for action than the minds of the leaders and educated few, the masses, were. So the Boule hedged the bet that the white man will deliver, therefore we will not let Garvey bring the color question in the middle of us. That was Du Bois. They misread Du Bois's color comment. Everybody gives him honor about the color line. He said, don't bring the color line shit up in here. And I'm not going to let Garvey separate us from the white man with the color shit. Others think he was talking about the color line as warning the white man. That was bullshit. He was warning Garvey. And sometimes different people in different books have misstated or given Du Bois still credit for things once understanding is a secret society must be taken away. But the point of it was that they made a bet that the white man would deliver. This is 40, 50 years before Rosa Parks. They hedged the bet that the white man would deliver, so they'd kill off Marcus Garvey. They killed off Garvey and then figured out the white man had tricked them. While Carter G. Woodson, Boule founder of Washington, D.C., came back later and called it the miseducation of the Negro. Years after having been made the Negro. He came back and repudiated it. Du Bois came back and repudiated it. So you're right, we're not going to repeat it. And there's an important moment you must remember here is when this is all about the Jewish founders and just talks about how the socialist boys, Rabbi Wise of Columbia, Edwin Seligman, Moskowitz, and all them, Slightly More Rider, built-in AACP, etc., etc., etc. And it's talking about how the socialist Jewish people use different things like others. Thank you very much, Sister Let. These are my brothers and sisters from Chicago. That little girl right there, I remember was a little not-needed little 9-year-old African sister that had grown tall. That brother and sister that moved here to Boston from Chicago, and Brenda Lett used to have to open up Seabrook headquarters where 3/4 of all of those tapes up there were made at. She was the sister who would have to sit there all night with her little bitty son, who was a bigger brother that walked out earlier now. You can hear him on the tapes running all around, making noise. You'll hear him and you listen to tape. That's her son, now grown up, who looked like a teenager now, was in here earlier. But anyway, remember the moment when Carnegie, and that's not even the page, when Rosenwald teamed up with Rockefeller. And that's not even the page. But anyway, we'll get all of that to some other time. But remember that tape, White Finance, Negro Leadership versus Marcus Garvey, because again, the essence of it is that they were used to team up against the brother, to come on the brother, to block him from the things. One last thing before I stop that I just want to share quickly is just that this is the first article that ever appeared publicly on the Boule, July 18th, 1990, LA Times. Karen Grisby Gates, the same person that wrote those articles about shades of color and Emerge, and also wrote the LA Times article called Complexity of Color. Same sister is the one who wrote the Boule story. It's how we found out about the Boule. The Council on Foreign Relations lecture I was given at the Good Life health food store in LA where I met Sister Donna. And there, right in the middle, brother says, did you see this in the paper today? We looked at it. They were meeting at the downtown hotel where the NAACP was meeting at. And that's when LeGrand Klieg, who was at your lecture, got condemned with Marla Gibbs, who's a solid sister, for condemning the Jewish people for running Hollywood. Ben Hooks came out and condemned them. But on one side of the page is about Marla Gibbs and LeGrand. On this side is that the Boule is meeting right next door. Interestingly enough, I thought it was an interesting coincidence that in the story it says, Boule is a Greek word designating a council of community leaders who advise kings. The reference to members of the 3,000-man worldwide fraternity is highly intentional. It says, like Yale's Skull and Bones secret society to which Bush belongs. See, that almost sounds arbitrary. Like Yale's Skull and Bones. It isn't until you get the history book that it says it was specifically set up on the tenets of Skull and Bones at Yale. That's why having the history book we had the article, that wasn't enough. We want the book. We get the book, we want the Constitution. We want the membership list. Because each time we found something, we found more into the story, etc., etc., etc. And this is part 2 to that story. Had a lot of interesting things in it. He found out that when he became one of the very few invited to join, he learned the secret handshakes and other Greek esoterica. He soon discovered that most black leaders in his community were already members. That was one member saying, this is another story appeared publicly. Black fraternal group plays big role in funding Wilder's presidential bid. A Washington Post, November 23rd, 91, mentions that Wilder went to the guardsmen who are interested, because at the last Boule meeting, we found out that the guardsmen were also there with the Boule, so now we got to go look up everything on the guardsmen. And that these are some of these untapped, exclusive middle-class clubs. And of course, the top blacks are just middle-class whites. See, Ebony did a story on, do you think you're middle class? And every black over 50,000 checks the box. Well, in reality, middle class is about from 200,000 to 700,000 annual income. That's middle of the billion income. But black people, you know, we got 2-3 million, so middle class for us is 50 to 75,000. And 70% of people claim they was middle class based on that economic analogy, which is not true. But anyway.
Aspirational.
Right, so you're right. And so anyway, I talked about Omega, of which Wilder is an Omega, one of the 8. He's a guardsman in a Boule, and when he went to run for president, he got his money from them. Interesting enough, here's Jet magazine. John Johnson is a Boule. Ebony seemed like a Boule magazine when you think about it. Fade Cream, Moderates, all the play-up thing. How many years did it take him to put Minister Farrakhan in the 100 most influential? Damn near 20 years before he had Sammy Davis in there, shit like that, wouldn't put Minister Farrakhan in there. And this is talking about the Boule had just met in Kansas City. There's an illustrious, always read this page because a lot of Boule shit is right on this page. Usually I used to turn over this page because I know nothing about black society. But then Essence magazine, Esquire did a story on me, May 1989. Terrible story, 16 pages. But in condemning me to the whites, it says Coakley lacks pedigree. And it took me a while to understand that whites understood that niggas was bred, not made. And not coming from daddy from Alabama, mama from Chicago, I never knew nothing about no damn pedigree.
No culture.
My granddaddy was an exterminator. I didn't know nothing about this shit. But the whites understood on measuring blacks, does Coakley have future? Lacks pedigree. In the white world. This is the Washington African American giving honor to the Boule dinner, black tie affair, thanking all of them in Maryland, D.C., etc. Point is, the Washington Post knew the Boule existed, the L.A. Times knew they existed, the Afro-American knew they existed. Here's the Amsterdam News. That brother is a very profound brother, but he do Boule stories on the Boule and stuff. Obviously, there were people that knew who they were. We were never told who they were. And I'm only doing that to prove that there were many who knew, but we were never told. Here's how did Whitney Young Boule get in the action arena. It talks about how the Rockefeller family went to him and asked him, did he want to be in the action arena? This is from the book on the Rockefeller dynasty by Horowitz and Collier, 2 white guys who condemn me all over the country for anti-Semitism, but I use their book because I can get past their weaknesses towards me. They wrote an interesting book on Rockefeller. In the footnote, it quoted how Whitney Young, it says, he was receptive to Kimball's suggestion that he belonged in the action arena. A white man went to a black man and said, do you want to work for black people? He said, yes. He said, well, I'm going to put you into action. And that's how Whitney Young, they then gave him and his wife a 2-year General Education Board fellowship at Harvard, while they removed the head of the Urban League on a Rockefeller Foundation sabbatical, and then put Whitney Young in because the Rockefeller family was controlling the budget. Anyway, just further evidence. What's the source? Rockefeller Family Archives. For a history of the first 30 years of the league, see that, Anyway, it quotes it in the beginning and the end. It's just the sources and other things are available about who and what these people are and do. Well, how does a black man resolve things? Boule is a Boule mayor. White man went out there, white police got together, called him a nigger. Dickens got real mad and went out and hired a white police chief. Dickens is half white, half black, half Mexican, and lost by ½ an inch. Louis Sullivan was supposed to help black kids. Of course, we know him for leading the violence initiative, which was to bug in on the brains of young black males finding violence tendencies. Read the autobiography of Wilson Goode. He was a Boule mayor. He says if he didn't back those white boys up when they bombed the move, they was going to kill him. Harold Washington was murdered. Get the tape over here what really happened to Harold Washington. because he was a black man with 99% of black voter, phenomenal in America. He was one of the best blacks we ever had. Right after the second term whipping all white comers, he has a mysterious heart attack. And I lay out every document related to his heart attack and show you profound discrepancies. And everybody just I hope we can run this Coakley ass out of Chicago. Because if his shit is right, then did nobody want to debate me? They went to the family. James Mohammed, now editor of The Final Call, went to the family of Harold Washington and asked them what was their comment about Coakley's investigation to his murder. And they says, though publicly we will not admit it, we stand behind him because we too believe there were discrepancies, but we are afraid to discuss it publicly. And you always have to remember, check Malcolm X's last speech. Spike Lee called it incoherent in the little book X. He calls it incoherent, but Malcolm says specifically, he ain't Elijah Muhammad. He says it's a white international power structure who's headquartered in New York, Washington, Paris, and London. And he said it's that white international power structure that's fucking our people. These are the old imperialist colonialists. That's why he got pegged. And the point of it was he didn't get fucked with, get the Judas factor, because when you look carefully, he had an African thing going. He didn't get fucked with till he did that. Remember, they never want you to be international. As a Boule, you're only supposed to be domestic. Malcolm fought them. He called them Big Six. A group, he knew it was cohesive, moderate thinking. He didn't know it was Boule. I just met with Marcus Garvey Jr. recently and shared with him the Boule information. He never knew about them. Never. And so we're advancing each other's dialogue about things we've looked at in the past by our penetrations. Now I'm going to pass the hat for Brother Coakley. And I'm going to do that as quickly as I can. In fact, I need one volunteer to walk this bag around for me. And what you got to do is you got to start in the front. You'll do it. You got to start in the front. You just got to walk all the way through. Do what you can for the brother. 10s, 20s, 100s. If you write a check, just don't put no name in the pay to the order of. Because I don't use a bank account. Why would I?
I love
Hey, how many of y'all in here owe white people money? If you have no other incentive for revolution, then understand that if you win, you ain't got to pay them.
How many old white people money?
Check. All right, are there any questions? Yes, quickly. Yes, brother. Be quiet. I need silence in the room. Yes. Now, is that Brother Coakley basket there too? Oh, thank you, Brother Tom. All right. Okay, do the best you can for the brother.
Brother?
Yes, brother.
Not so much a question, but a statement.
Yes, listen up, everybody, please. We can do it quietly.
The last two brothers who've been carrying the fight, the flame, Marley and Tosh.
So you're right.
Cut.
Both got killed.
Were cut.
Oh yeah, one last thing I got to tell y'all after you mention that. It's very important. Closing.
One, Marley was the man who was about to say, and that's why he got stopped in Germany, went to Sweden, ended up in Miami. And Tosh was the man who was about to leave with the fire in his hand, with that crystal, the light coming through. Because you saw the last album, it was the two rockets. Okay? And we knew who the devil was, we knew who the man was. It's not so much a statement. You've all heard the answer, you know what the truth is. Don't let your mind dissuade you from saying and feeling and acting upon what you know to be real.
Yes, sir. And you know what? I mentioned earlier, I don't want you to forget this. I mentioned I didn't finish it. Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Madonna. You all remember the movie Rollerball? James Caan, John Houseman. Corporations have taken over the world. There's a sport game called Rollerball. Rollerball is you take that big iron ball, you stick it in this big vacuum thing, go grunk. And it was a game because all the other games had been suspended. There's 20 corporations running the world. Now, in that game, they went to the head man, the top man who won all the games. His name was Jonathan. That was James Caan. They went to Jonathan and they said, Jonathan, we want you to tonight on this big special that we've got for you, big special on all TV, we want you to announce your retirement. He said, retire for what? I'm doing good in the motherfucker. He said, you must retire, Jonathan, because you're upsetting the order. The order was that there was no one supposed to be so involved, in sports that they rioted as a result of it. Go back. Dallas wins the Super Bowl, the little black people get together and kick ass at every honky they can grab out there. Every time the Bulls won, Chicago went off. The people were emotionally involved in the game so that they destroyed or touched the corporate stuff. So the corporation asked the extraordinary individual to sit down so that the society does not believe that, see, I know what one person can do. So don't you underestimate that, but they're going to sell you that one can't do nothing. One can activate. Like Malcolm used to say, a fuse is small. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Now, so when Jonathan don't resign, they take his woman away because it found out that his woman had been sent to him. Then when he wouldn't resign, they make the game tougher and they kill his main man, Moon Pie. Remember, they bust him in the back of the head, the Tokyo section. But when Michael Jordan, when the Bulls are down 1 game to the Knicks, and the Knicks were supposed to win, I'm going to show you how the Knicks were supposed to win. Pat Riley leaves Los Angeles. Magic Johnson is told he has the HIV virus, and Pat Riley leaves LA to prepare New York. As New York begins to incubate, the brothers all accumulate there, as every city is given a little taste of victory to cool the populace. Easement. Men watch sports and be tired at the end of it. Men used to play sports and be tired. But in the New World Order, you watch it, and symbolically you feel like you played it. Y'all sisters look at brother when the game over. He don't want to do coochie at the football because he tired in the motherfucker. He all sweaty and worn out. Tonight the fight is on. Everybody be tired when the fight. Swore they was swinging, they said. Check. Yeah. So the corporations recognize that sports or entertainment could spill over into activity and upset other things. So Michael Jordan lose 1 down to New York. He goes to the casino. At the casino, they say he stays too late. He proves he got home early. The Bulls players get mad and don't talk to the press. The Bulls players get fined $25,000 because it's illegal not to talk to the press because the hype is built into the game. Go back and check. The next day, the white boy comes out with the book, Me and Michael Jordan's Gambling Problem. Michael doesn't talk, but his daddy does. You can't fuck with Michael Jordan's mama and hurt him. Most people, it's the mama. But in this case, it was the daddy. So the Bulls go on and upset the corporate order and bring Chicago 3 times back when no individual is ever supposed to supersede. The Bulls ain't all that good, but with Jordan, they were extraordinary because anytime they were down, they just give it to him. And he could beat all other teams with just 4 more guys, and no corporation wants to instigate even the symbol of that. So Jordan is giving money. Mike, do this commercial with Bird. What I have to do? Sit on the bench. Bird shows up. What you got, Mike? He said, Big Mac. He said, I'll play you for it. So he said, first, no dunking. No, don't be too black. No dunking. Then he says, over the backboard, over the expressway, all of that, right? My little 10-year-old son said, Daddy, what does Michael Jordan win? Nothing. Because if Larry Bird loses, he didn't put nothing up. He was playing for Michael Jordan sandwich. And that's what's wrong with us as a race. We keep playing for our own sandwich. But he took money to do that. But the children get confused by that. How much was it worth him doing a dumb relationship with Larry Bird for money? How much did he give him? $1 million? $700,000? All he had to do was do something stupid, get in a bet with somebody where they put nothing up. I'll play you for America. No, I already got it. I just got to fight and take it back. I'm not going to play you for what's already mine. Right? Okay? Michael Jackson thought it didn't make any difference if you was black or white. He started fucking around with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy fucking around with Shabba Ranks, talking about if I was a king and shit. Yes. Shabba Ranks say, fuck them gayest people. They set him down. Yep. Talked to Stevie Wonder. I talked to him on my last trip to LA. So I ain't made no music lately because unless I make titty booty hopping shit, they won't record me. Check with Public Enemy, Ice Cube, the Lynch Mob, Ice-T, Sister Soldier. They will tell you they're being pushed and consolidated to give up even language that suggests that they will destroy the enemy, even in its vagueness.
The last Mali Copa, my brother. Check it out.
I'm going to get it.
The man on the white horse?
Ooh.
Remember that?
So you're right. So you're right.
Say no more.
Say no more. So you're right. And then here come Seagal, the honky CIA, doing a thing on Jamaican voodoo, making all the brothers look chumpish and ridiculous. And then using who they use in the flick? Peter Ty, no, not Peter. Who did he use in his flick? He used the brother, reggae brother, Jimmy Cliff. He put in the flick to go along with all that ugly symbolism and shit. But the reality is that these extraordinary individuals are being set down because they do not want this juice flowing in the people. It's the juice of the people that they must suppress. The feeling that it's going to come. It's that feeling, right? If they can kill the feeling, they don't have to worry about the fact. So they even went out and killed Malcolm feeling just to keep that thing away. Liberation or continuation. Yes, brother.
How can we pull our children, our small minds, out of the schools who are taught by white people, even though it's a black school, it's taught by a majority of white.
You must accept responsibility for supplanting a different education. Some cities have Afrocentric schools. I don't know if Boston does or not. It's unfortunate. There are too many of y'all here to have too few things to help you. It's too many of y'all here. But it's enough of the victims of the Boule to circumvent that. It must be, I advocate that we build greenhouses, fish farms, solar power. Why is Africa starving when you could put a solar power cell in the middle of the desert and have it electrify a greenhouse, hydraulically growing fruits and vegetables? Why is Africa starving? Why, brother?
For one thing, they need hydroponics. For another thing, they're using the satellites to look at where the fish are. And they take their commercial fishing boats off the coast of Africa, and they rape them of their seafood, and then bring that food back to Europe. All of these African countries that we're fishing off the coast, they ain't got no fish. It ain't just Africa, it's on the third world so-called third world country. True or false?
True.
Sorry, people.
Hey, now, I'm
I
hearing
get
this donation.
7 seconds.
And I see all
This is
singles.
it.